This is my review for the Flash movie in 2023.
Zod.
Alright, so, I didn't think I'd say it, but here I am. I was never a big fan of Ezra Miller, but you know, what can I say? Here I am. I've watched this movie not once, not twice, but 3 times. That's how good it is. I didn't think it would be this good. You know, I had the idea that Flashpoint was going to be this awesome multiverse thing where, not really even a multiverse thing, just like one other universe. I thought Negan and Maggie were going to be Thomas and Martha Wayne as Batman and Joker, respectively. I thought we were going to see, you know, Jason Momoa and that short hair, and Gal Gadot and Amber Heard duke it out, you know, and Amber Heard would have just been decapitated in the cinema. That's how you get people to watch Amber Heard again, alright? You just give her $1 million, say, Amber, I know you're in a tough spot right now. You know, not a lot of people like you, but trust me, you do this movie, people are gonna love you. They're gonna feel sorry for you. They're gonna think we went too far. You're gonna come out looking squeaky clean. You can smack around beloved actors from the 90s heads all you want. And they're gonna think you're awesome because we just recreated this scene. That was in the comics and in the animated movie, you know, so it's legit. You know, we didn't do this out of spite. This is just a happy coincidence, alright? Amber, you gotta do it. Anyway, this movie isn't about Amber. It's about another problematic WB star, Ezra Miller. My favorite part of this movie is when Ezra Miller told Ezra Miller to stop Ezra Millering all the damn time. It was so meta. Dude, there were so many actors who could have been the Flash, but for this script, the way they wrote it this way, Ezra was perfect. Down to every minute detail. Perfect. Nobody could have done it better. This would not be as enjoyable for me if it was anyone else. Alright, they established that, you know, the plot of this movie is very simple. It's just basically butterfly effect. You do something, something else happens, it leads to something else, and then yada yada yada, you get fucking the apocalypse. Okay? It really got me thinking, you know, in this universe, it's probably, you know, this Ezra Miller probably went back in time and dropped himself on the head as a baby. That's why we get him doing all this goofy shit. Cue the clips.
Hi, this is Ezra Miller.
Do you want to fight?
The Bengal Ghouls, the Mad Goose Wizard.
Whoa, bro.
This is a message for the Ku Klux Klan. Look, if y'all want to die,
it's not represent people always.
I suggest just killing yourselves with your own guns. Okay?
Always just knock you out, and then you won't have to panic.
Right.
Keep doing exactly what you're doing right now, and you know what I'm talking about, and then we'll do it for you.
Just gotta let you know.
Yeah.
No? Yes?
What?
Bye!
You know, I was so happy with this writing. You know, and as much as I would have loved to see the Flashpoint movie, you know, we've seen that before. From what I gather, that movie was very well done, so you don't need to see it again. Yeah, you got that one. This one's a fresh new take, you know, like a ripe peach. It's fresh. And like a lot of reviewers said, I thought what they did with the 2 Barrys was very smart, because a lot of people had complaints about this Ezra Miller Barry, right? He's annoying, he's loud, he's jittery, he's got like ADD, ADHD, I don't know what the fuck, ASL, I don't know. He's got a lot of issues. So to pair him up with himself, yeah, he really is a good actor. I mean, he can act as an annoying guy. And maybe it's just because of the juxtaposition, you know, you put him right beside a really annoying version of himself. The older Barry seems like pretty alright. He seems like a regular guy. You know, he's a little jittery still. Still a little bit awkward, but, you know, other than that, he's still a pretty normal dude. I'd hang out with him. And I really thought because of all of Ezra Miller's shenanigans, I thought he was going to play the villain in this movie. He kind of did. I'm getting ahead of myself, but I thought he was going to be Reverse Flash. I know it's supposed to be a different guy than Barry Allen in the movie, but I thought, hey, it's a movie. They can change stuff up, right? So I thought that spiky dude in the trailers, he was gonna be the Reverse Flash, just not yellow, just more black than yellow, but same guy. Yeah, and unironically, dude, he was really good in the emotional scenes. Like the whole movie, when he needed to be sad, when he needed to be serious, he did it. And when he needed to be goofy, he did it. He had a laugh like the younger Barry. Something like Stifler from American Pie or Andy Samberg. It's a laugh that they would have done, like, oh, something like that. It really felt like watching one of those old 90s comedies. Now let's talk about the CGI, huh? The CGI really took me back into my childhood because it was like straight out of 2008 Green Lantern quality. It was so bad, but it was so bad it was good, alright? At some points when it was bad, it made me laugh, but at some points it was bad, but the concept behind it was so good, so I forgave it. I really just gotta give Ezra props, for all his problems. He's a good actor. I didn't get it before. I get it now. He got to play 2-3 versions of Barry Allen. An older one, a younger, naive, annoying one, and spoilers for the end of the movie, but a really old, frustrated version of that younger one. It would have been funny if the old one did the oh laugh, but nah, he didn't do that. Anyway, if we're talking about characters, I tell you who's the standout character. Sasha Calle. Oh, señorita muy caliente. Ooh. It's been so long since I've seen an attractive woman in a superhero movie. Alright, I didn't see Shazam 2. I'm sure she's fine as hell, but I didn't watch that. Yeah, I watched the Avengers, and you're covering everyone up. Yeah, you got a supermodel. In real life, you dress her up in rags. I don't know what Marvel's doing. Alright, Marvel, you gotta step up your baddie game up, because DC is killing it. They're killing it, Jerry. What are you doing, Marvel? Huh? What is going on? Why are you choosing people who don't work out? Why are you not making the costumes make them look as best as possible? Okay? DC's doing it. They're not doing so well financially, but hey, at least we get to see something nice on screen, huh? And aside from look, I really do like her character, Usually I don't like it when women don't smile. I think a woman smiling is one of the most beautiful things in the world. Supergirl was so fine she didn't need to smile, alright? If you look good enough, you don't need to smile and you still look amazing. Gal Gadot doesn't need to smile. Sasha Calle doesn't need to smile. They look fantastic. And here's a really good part about the character, because the only time she does smile is when she's talking about her little baby cousin. 2 Barrys were talking about Clark, and she's like, who the fuck is Clark? And then they say, oh, Clark's Kal-El's Earth name. And then she smiles and she says, oh, Clark. That was so heartwarming, And then the other time she showed a lot of emotion was when Zod told her, hey, yeah, I basically killed your little baby cousin. Your cute little baby cousin? Yeah, I fucking snuffed them out. And then she's so mad. Oh. Yeah, I'm getting too heated, so my cat's concerned. What I liked about that was it showed how maternal she is. And she's very concerned about a baby. Oh my god. A woman concerned about a baby's well-being. What universe is this? I don't want to get political. This movie was not political, okay? And I love that. The most political thing this movie got into was like Batman, and he had the lasso of truth, and he says like, oh, if I really wanted to end crime, I'd end poverty. That's the most they got into. They didn't have to put little flags in the background stuff. They didn't have to use a specific color palette and make people talk about. They didn't have to do that. My friend was saying like, they probably couldn't because there's so much shit going on in this movie. Hey, and guess what? They managed to finish this movie, by the way. They didn't leave you hanging for a part 2. They didn't cut the story right in the middle of a cliffhanger, in the middle of an action scene. They didn't stop the movie there like another multiverse movie that everyone's so crazy about. I don't get the deal, but hey, this movie wasn't woke at all. In fact, it kind of seems anti-woke. It seems that way. I don't think it was, but if you said it was, I get it, because, when they gender swap a male character, usually the woman's fucking amazing at everything, right? She's OP. She's like the man, but just so much better in every way, right? We've seen that with Rey. We've seen that with Captain Marvel. We've seen that with Indiana Jones. This time you get Supergirl. And she fucking sucks. I'm not gonna lie. As a fighter, she can hold her own. Against normal guys. Against Russian soldiers. Yeah, she's a fucking badass. She's amazing. She wipes the floor with him. She fucking threw a guy so hard he exploded. Yeah, she's that good. But with Kryptonians, no, she fucking sucks. They made it a point. So I was watching the Critical Drinkers podcast with a bunch of guests. And I think he had one guy who watched the movie beforehand. And he was saying, like, in addition to filming her beautifully, making her look like a goddess on screen, in addition to the eye candy, they also show that, yeah, she's not invincible. She's weak in some sense, yeah, for lack of a better word. She's flawed, She's not perfect. She's pretty good. Not perfect. Yeah, so basically, the Flash and the other Flash and Batman and Supergirl, they try to save their world, and they fail. And then because the Flashes, they can go back in time, they try again. And they fail again. And again, and again, and again, and again, and again. And like throughout this whole time, you just see her die over and over again. And it is, I gotta tell you, I kind of felt bad for her. I was hoping she'd like make it in one of them, but no, her point in this movie is to die. That's it. So does Batman, but at least Batman goes out thinking he did something good. He blew up the ship first time round, then second time round he died thinking he killed the giant space alien. So both times at least he thought he won. He died heroically. Kara, that's Supergirl, yeah, she just fucking dies. She gets stabbed with a space needle. I'm guessing it's like some Kryptonian needle, because it wasn't very cinematic. I would have gone with a bigger blade, like a fucking... What's that big fucking Netflix CGI He-Man blade? I would have gone with that, but it might have been too violent. So, yeah. Her point is to die. But it wasn't sexist. I don't think so, because, first of all, it's a canon event. That's how they would describe it, right? But Superman, Clark, he had at least 25 years in the sun, tanning. He's got all this latent, potent energy. Where she only had like a few hours at most. Maybe 1 hour? Tops? And she was unprepared. She only got like her full powers an hour before. That's why she was asking, is it always this loud? She was being overwhelmed. Clark had his whole childhood to deal with that. She didn't. She was just like brand new. She was a babysitter, alright? This is way above her pay grade. Like maybe she's done some like community martial arts classes on Krypton, but yo, she's out of her league. She was just supposed to take care of a baby, and she did the best she could. And I admire that. Very maternal, very womanly, very attractive. What more could you ask for? And I really liked her interaction with the Barrys. Younger Barry, she said like, yeah, Zod's gonna kill a bunch of people, but you ain't my people. Peace. And she fucking bailed. But then after seeing Barry try to kill himself, trying to get powers to save his world, it's not even his world, really. Like, these aren't his people too, but he still tries to save them. She decided to stop being racist towards humans. She had some character development there. I like that. Yeah, and she kind of owed him one, right? Because he could have just left her. You're not the guy we're looking for. Between this and Spider-Verse, this movie had an ending. It wasn't a happy ending, but it had a conclusion. And an important lesson. Lesson being that sometimes you can't change things. Sometimes things are fate. I think Spider-Verse 3 might be going in a different direction, but who knows, right? My point is they managed to tell a story within 2 hours. Or however long this is. 2 hours is a long time. I remember when movies were like 90 minutes. There's an art to finishing a story within a stipulated amount of time. And if you can't do that in 2 hours, like, I don't know what to tell you, man. You got some pacing issues, okay? My complaint about Zack Snyder's Justice League is like, dude, this shit was way too long. It didn't need to be that long. But at least he broke it up into chapters. And at the end of it, it was a complete story. They didn't make you wait Oh, you gotta wait till 2024. Oh, it might be 2026. Oh, I guess the animators are mad. We don't know when this is gonna be finished. Alright? None of the voice acting has been done. The story's not done. The production art's not done. Nothing's been animated. So, I don't know what to tell you. This may come out. This might not come out. Who the hell knows? Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked here. Look, this movie had a conclusion. It had a lesson. And I think the best thing it did was it redeemed this version of the Flash for being so annoying. Even a more annoying version of himself, the younger Barry, he learned how to be mature. He learned that there are consequences. There's real shit going on, and he sacrificed himself. He went through this whole hero's journey, right? If you think about it, like so many movies, solo superhero movies, they always want to do an origin story. Now, I thought what they did with Spider-Man was brilliant because they fooled us for like 5 movies. Honestly, they could have done it in 1 movie, but at least we got there, right? So for 5 movies, he wasn't Spider-Man. And by No Way Home, it's like, okay, now he's finally Spider-Man. That's great. With The Flash, he was already The Flash when we first saw him, right? He already had the suit. He already had the powers. We didn't know how he got his powers. We had a glimpse into his backstory, like his dad was in prison for some reason. But here they told the origin story again, and we got to see that with younger Barry. And younger Barry got to finish his whole character arc because we saw him get his powers, we saw him have the fun in games, messing around with his powers. It's always a fun part in superhero films. We even had that in Man of Steel. We had that in Spider-Man, the experimentation thing. But here you get to see him do it, and it didn't feel like, we're gonna have to do an origin story again. It's like, no, now we get to see like this guy who's already been through it, now he has to go through it again. So I just thought that was cool. Watching this 2-3 times, I really like the foreshadowing. Like the most obvious one being the dad telling young Barry to run, Barry, run. That's obvious, but there was subtle stuff. Like the part where the mom's saying like, hey husband, get me some tomatoes. And then the husband says like, Barry should get it, he's getting so big. Look, he's getting gray. And then the dad puts like flour in Barry's hair and it looks like his hair is gray. And then it's like, oh shit, that's foreshadowing what's gonna happen at the end. Like, I knew the purple guy was going to be some version of Barry. That was pretty obvious. Like, who else is going to be able to stop time in that time travel dome thing? It's probably going to be Barry. But I didn't know he was going to be that old. That was a shock, right? I thought he was just going to be corrupted with power, but I didn't know it was going to take him so long. That's another great thing this movie did. They showed, not told. Show, not tell. That's like one of the basic tenets in filmmaking or visual storytelling, even on stage, right? I loved Infinity War, but even they told, Doctor Strange, when he was doing that shit, he said, I tried doing this like 14 million times. There was only one time it worked. In this one, they showed you like, dude, he's old, he's got wrinkles, he's got gray hair. I don't even know if that's Ezra Miller. I mean, you can only tell it's him because of the scar. But yeah, they've really hit home to the point that, yeah, you can't change this. Batman's gonna die, Supergirl's gonna die, this is just, it's fate, They didn't say, they didn't do that cheesy shit. And I legitimately feel sad for younger Barry, because he was just a kid. He was just 18, right? He just got superpowers, he was so stoked, and then he died on a second mission. Right, and here's another foreshadowing, because when he first found out that the older version of him was going to have superpowers, he was like, oh my god, that's so cool. And then older Barry is just saying like, nah, it's not so great. And if you think about it, younger Barry, he never got to go on his date. He never got to see his parents again. He was away at school for like a week or a couple of months. I don't know how long it takes. But he was away for a while. And he was just about to go home and eat with his mom and dad. And he never got to. It was just he went straight up to his room. And then he had to go get his powers. And then he had to go to Bruce Wayne's house. He never got to go home. That is so fucking sad. And he just died. And he knew he was gonna die. You met him like 2 days before and he seemed like really naive and but after a while it's like, yeah, he realizes the gravity of the situation. He realizes that he's gotta kill himself to save a version of himself. So at least one world has a shot, right? Because that other Barry didn't have to save this world. He could just, once he got his powers, he could just go home. fuck this world, right? He tried his best. I think there's a value in trying in this world, in any world, right? This is getting a little philosophical here. You gotta try. You might fail, but the point is you try. I think that's what they're gonna do with Spider-Verse 3. Right? Because all the spider people, all the spider they-thems, they're gonna try to save that police officer, and they're gonna fail. But at least they tried. Miles never even got to try because these guys won't let him. Right? So I think that's what they're gonna do. You don't need to wait years. You don't need to have a part 2 to finish this like a moral. You can just do it in one movie, and The Flash did it, and Spider-Verse couldn't, and I'm so disappointed. Because I had very low expectations for The Flash. Really super low. You know the reason why I even watched this? It's because this is a big spoiler. This is the reason why I paid to watch it the first time. Alright, second and third because I like the movie and I want to watch it again, and I want them to make more movies like this. But the first time I wanted to watch this is because I saw a spoiler in that Critical Drinker podcast that Nick Cage was going to be in this. He's going to be Nick Cage Superman, alright? And it was glorious. Do you remember that Kevin Smith story when he's talking about his Superman Lives script? And that was supposed to have Nicolas Cage in it, and that movie didn't happen. So I was like, Nicolas Cage, this guy, he's such a big fan of comic books. He named himself after Luke Cage. He named his son after Superman. He's a big fucking nerd. And that's a deep compliment, alright? Because I love it when people are passionate about their jobs. So we finally got to see that. It was only like 30 seconds tops, but it was so worth it. As soon as that shit appeared in the cinema, I was cheering, dude. I didn't cheer at all during Spider-Verse. I was cheering for this one. This one was, oh my god. Yes! This is what I paid for. Yes! And the best part is like the cinema was kind of empty. A lot of people didn't watch this movie. I'm not gonna lie. Alright, this movie's not doing so well. That's why I watched it so many times. If you can and you haven't watched it yet, please do watch it in cinemas. You can make a racket, alright? You're not gonna be punching people like The Little Mermaid. Nobody's watching this thing. Go there, have a great fucking time. You can cheer when Nick Cage appears. Alright, that's what I did. Oh, and speaking of The Little Mermaid, there's one point I forgot to mention. There's this nice thing about, like, they didn't even make this about man and woman thing. Because in the beginning of the movie, when they first met Kara, Older Barry saved her. And then when Older Barry gets electrocuted and he wants to go again, but the machine doesn't work and, like, he's really trying, she saves him. He says, I got you, and he's saving her. She says, I got you, and she's saving him. Oh, I mean, that's cheesy, but I like it. You got a lot of parallel lines here. I think both the Batmen said, not this time, kid, maybe some other time. And they said it in very different contexts. Ben Affleck said it in terms of, like, wanting to get something to eat. And then Michael Keaton said it in terms of, like, yeah, I'm not gonna live. Oh, that was beautiful. Dude, they really went through the script of this a lot of times to make sure everything's, like, fits together really nicely. It is kind of cheesy. Some of the cinematography was super cheesy, like the part where Batman like makes a fist and the guys are like shooting at the fist, but actually he moves his fist and there's Supergirl. And then there's the part where he jumps off a plane and you see the plane silhouetted against the moon and it looks like the bat signal. It's like, oh, that's art. These frames just stick in my mind long after the movie. That's what movies are supposed to be. It's like Harry Styles saying like, this is a movie that feels like a movie. That's what this felt like. Yes, it's cheesy, but I like that shit. Okay? I don't know what to tell you. This really made me feel like an experience, Like when you watch a movie, sometimes it sticks with you for a few days. That's what it felt like here. Now, it's not perfect. Like I said, like the director said, he really tried something, He said like, oh, the CGI is meant to be bad. It's supposed to be like the light not reflecting in time, so everything looks a little wonky. Sure, buddy. Sure, of course. But I can forgive the bad CGI. Number one, because sometimes it's funny. And number two, because the concept is so good. I love that time travel Colosseum looking thing. I believe they call it the Chrono Bowl. I love that sequence because this is like really weird, but in 2009 I did some artwork for school and it looks just like that in my head. So when I saw that on the screen I was like, holy shit. This is like my dream come true. That looks kind of like a video game, but hey, guess what? I like video games. So I didn't have a problem with it. I love cutscenes, you know? And I like the whole visuals of showing how time travel works, because we've seen that a couple of times. We've seen multiverses a couple of times. But this was a really cool way of showing it. And the whole thing reminds me of a zoetrope. Zoetrope? I don't know how to pronounce it, but you know, the thing with the horse, right? That was just really cool to see. Yeah, visually, man, I got no complaints. CGI was used, obviously. For me, it worked because concept worked. It brought me back to 2008, made me feel young again. And this director, he's gonna be directing the next Batman. And I would say he did a great job with both Batmen here. Bruce Wayne, he got to have a couple of cool scenes. I'm pretty damn sure he watched Teen Titans Go. Because there's a scene that looks just like this in the movie. Ben Affleck Batman was great. Michael Keaton, I'm pretty sure it wasn't him. It's either CGI or a stuntman, but the way he moved so fast, like pose-to-pose animation, it was so good. The hits really hit you hard. You know, they got to move the camera around like Joel Schumacher. Oh my god, the cranes in this movie were crazy. Do you watch that video essay, Bayhem? Yeah, it's basically Michael Bay can't keep a camera still. I think that's why I like it, because this felt like Michael Bay directed it. The camera is always moving. Even with scenes that don't need the camera to be moving, the camera's always moving. Either subtly or a lot. And I like it a lot. You know, this guy studied the Andy Muschietti. He's probably in charge of the spaghetti. I think he really studied all the previous movies that they referenced. He studied Burton, he studied Schumacher, and even when they had the flashback to Man of Steel, you know, he turned the color grading down so it looks like Zack Snyder's filter. Dude, this guy did his research. And my friend pointed this out on the third time, and I didn't even notice it. They got away with explaining the multiverse in the cheapest way possible. In Avengers, they had the CGI, you know, you need a bald Celtic woman, and Mark Ruffalo to be wearing a plaid shirt and not as the Hulk. You needed that to explain the multiverse. And then in Loki, you had to animate this whole like 50s animated style thing just to explain the multiverse. In Spider-Verse, they had to do all this like cool hologram sequence. In here, what? Spaghetti. That's all you need. There you go, multiverse. And the thing is, it worked. It was easy to understand. You know, it wasn't convoluted. It wasn't like, oh, I gotta think about this and carry over the 4. I don't have to think about any of that. It's just, oh, spaghetti. You know, you just turn the spaghetti this way. There you go. That's your explanation. Does it make sense? No. Does any time travel movie make sense? No. No. So why the hell not? I thought it was brilliant. I gotta tell you, after the movie, I felt like eating spaghetti. And like I said, I like it a lot better than Spider-Verse 2 because in this movie, he really had to let his mom die. And you don't want that to happen. He doesn't want that to happen, but if he doesn't, the world's gonna end. Which is basically the same fucking point as Spider-Verse 2. But they managed to wrap up the whole story in 2 hours. Spider-Verse 2 is so long and it's still not over. They got so much going on. You know, I'm not as young as I used to be. I can't sit down for 2 hours straight. My old ass is gonna hurt in the cinema. And you didn't even finish the story. It's like I've got cinematic blue balls over here, alright? I'm waiting. I'm about to bust. And you didn't let me bust. I felt like the woman at the end of 50 Shades of Grey. You know, I'm not saying it shouldn't be a cliffhanger. I'm not saying it shouldn't be a part 1 of 2. I knew that going in. Guess what? Empire Strikes Back was a part 1 of 2. Infinity War was a part 1 of 2. They managed to finish that. At least they managed to finish a story arc there. Spider-Verse 1 did. Spider-Verse 2 didn't. And I didn't like it. Sorry. I mean, visually it looked great, but just left me wanting more. And they're not gonna give us more for God knows how many years. So what's the point? Huh? You build up all this hype and then you can't deliver. Nah, man. The Flash, they gave me a complete story. If you've watched the Asian one, what's that? Everything Everywhere All at Once, they give you 2 stories, right? And they finished 2 stories. Spider-Verse 2 couldn't even finish 1. Fuck that movie. I'm sorry, it's not that bad. But it's not a movie. I would say Spider-Verse 2 is a really nice, cool TV show. Like Snyder Cut. That was a TV show, it's not a movie. No, you know what? Snyder Cut was a long movie because at least it ended. It didn't leave you on a cliffhanger. They were chapters. Spider-Verse 2 is just, it's not a movie yet, you know? I'll judge it when the third one comes out, if it comes out. Who knows when that'll be, right? But Spider-Verse 2 is not a movie. No, it's not. They could have ended it a little bit earlier. They could have ended it later. And then it would have been a movie, but they finished like some sort of story arc. And then they did another one, and then they just stopped in the middle of it. It's like, nah, it didn't work for me, man. And they spoiled it in the trailers. We already know Miguel was going to be the antagonist. That would have been a cool twist in the movie, but they spoiled it, so I didn't like it. So anyway, back to The Flash, right? If the whole point of the movie is like, you gotta let your mom die, you gotta let the ones you love die for the greater good. It's very utilitarian, right? It's very bleak. What's the point? What's the point of life? Is this some fucking nihilistic movie that I'm gonna cut myself to? Isn't it depressing? No. You know, what I think the point of this movie is to appreciate what you have. Even though this alternate world, this Burtonverse or some adjacent Burtonverse, even though it got destroyed, at least in that world, Barry had his mom for 10 more years. At least in that world, Gotham was a very safe place to live. At least in that world, a lot of good happened, you know? The Eric Stoltz got to play Marty McFly. There are good things that happened. So I think the point of this is to appreciate the good things because one day it's going to be over, you know? One day it has to be over. That's life. We're all going to die one day. But it's what you do before that. Yeah, so could be uplifting. If that's how you want to think about it, man. Yeah, I think I've said all I wanted to say. I've been talking for 40 minutes. Jesus Christ, I gotta stop taking so long with these reviews. I'm not even gonna put like sections to these anymore. I'm just gonna talk off the cuff. I'm not gonna turn off the fan, so I'm sorry if my voice sounds a little muffled. But yeah, final verdict. If you haven't seen this, please watch it. It's good. I didn't think it'd be good, but it's good. Beyond the Nick Cage cameo. I really think it's a good movie, and it's a shame that it's not doing so well. I gotta tell you, Ezra Miller is perfect. I said it before and I'll say it again. He's perfect because there's so many scenes where he's just telling himself off. Like, you think you're so funny, you think everybody likes you, but nobody likes you, you're annoying. He said that to himself, and this wasn't a movie either. This was Ezra Miller's therapy session. And then he's saying, there's one part where he's saying like, hey man, I'm sorry, I just get a little excited, you know?
I'm sorry. I'm not very good with people. Even myself.
Oh. Come on, dude. You're not that bad. You can just be kind of a dick sometimes, but... Well, let's face it, I am pretty obnoxious. But I just get excited.
And it's like, yeah, this is his rehearsal for what's gonna happen in court, you know? And there's parts where he's like fighting with himself, and then they have the camera as a POV. This is probably the POV of the woman he choked out. Dude, there were so many parts in this movie where this is like nobody else could play this but Ezra Miller. The part where he put a baby in a microwave. Oh my god. If you knew the shenanigans Ezra Miller got into outside of this movie, this just makes it even better that he was cast. Alright? You can't have Grant Gustin doing this shit. You can't have the old 90s Flash doing this shit. It wouldn't be as funny. This shit is hilarious. And like I said, he really was good in the scenes where he needed to be serious. I didn't watch Fantastic Beasts. I didn't watch There's Something About Kevin. I really haven't watched anything other than like his viral internet clips. So I think I'm gonna check him out. You know, yeah, this guy's a good actor. All this time he's been going by they them, and it's like promotion for this movie because there's two of them here. This guy's a fucking genius. He's my favorite actor. Oh my god. You know, before I saw this movie, I just saw the clips and I thought, this is my favorite comedian. But after this, it's like, no, he's my favorite actor. He's great. He's fucking brilliant. I don't even know if I'm being ironic here or not. I just know I enjoyed myself. And I might watch it a fourth time. Who knows? I'll let you know. Bye.